Yo, what is up, everybody? It is time for another episode of Shooting the Shit Uncensored. It is me, your host, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight I've got a co-host with me tonight. I've got a guy that is pretty controversial on the MWA podcast network. He kind of opens his mouth and
Puts my foot in
just
it.
just lets it flow, baby. He's one of my best friends, the Kingpin Angel Medina. How are you tonight, man?
Doing good,
What's
brother.
that
You know,
on,
it's funny. I was watching the opening credits, and it's funny how you had this like big, massive hair, and as the video keeps going, it gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So I was just laughing. That's why I was laughing at the beginning, because your hair just kept shrinking in the whole process of the video.
Yeah, it's because I started out, married with kids, and then another kid, and then another kid, and then their kids get older, and they start talking back, and their hair gets lower and lower and grayer and grayer.
And so you went this way, and I went this way.
That's it, man. That's it. But before we get into tonight's show, man, we got a pretty amazing guest coming on. 25-year ring vet Missy Sampson, who's coming on. Man, she's been in the business for a long time. She's a coach of the world famous Monster Factory, man. Like, that gym has produced some absolute legends in the business. People that and worked with, like Balls Mahoney, also D'Lo Brown. I think Big Show also trained there for a little bit.
Big Show was there. Bam Bam.
Yeah, Bam Bam. That's right. I remember hearing an interview with Larry Sharp, and they mentioned that. But we're going to bring Missy out very shortly. But before we get into tonight's show, let's take a quick pause for the cause to thank some of those sponsors, Angel. The first one up is healthvape.com. Now, healthvape.com offer a healthy vaping alternative. All products are no nicotine, no harmful or addictive chemicals. And Angel, they're vitamin infused, bro. So you know what? We got to make sure that we all head out there, pick up some of their vape and pod products using promo code MWA pod for a discount. But Angel, I'm an ex-smoker, right? So I use this vape now. And like, that's kept me off cigarettes for the past year. But I think healthvape.com is going to be the thing that actually gets me off this thing to vaping at all, man.
I don't vape, and I never really did, but I will try gimmicks. I'll take any gimmicks just to see if it gives me the extra push. So if it gives me some vitamins, I'll give it a shot. I'll try it.
Well, talking about gimmicks, I think anyone who watches this show, if you're an athlete or know someone who's an athlete, you need to check out sleeves.com. Now, Sleeves offer a great range of athletic wear, from compression pants, compression socks, compression shorts, arm sleeves, mouth guards, head guards. And they also have dirty boxes, Angel. And
I love the dirty boxes,
dude. I love. You know what? They are the most comfortable undies that I own, man. And it's got an elephant on them as well, bro. So
what I like about them is that you have all these different types of karaoke mic and all that stuff. It's like a gift for a woman. It's like every time it's an adventure. Every time my pants come down. So I mean, definitely, if you want, it's the truth. The dirty boxes is a treat for any woman or any guy or any transgender. I mean, shit, give it all. Take it all.
That's it. Get to sleeps.com. Use promo code MWA pod to get a 10% discount. But Angel, without further ado, I think I'm going to bring out our guest for this evening, Missy Sampson. Missy, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. How's obviously the past year with COVID and everything, gyms were sort of locked down, wrestling shows were sort of on freeze. What was that like for you during that time of like no wrestling? Like, I take it 25 years in the business, you'd be every weekend would have involved either going to shows or training.
Well, I lucked out because it didn't affect me the way it did almost everyone else, because I had taken my last booking November of 2019.
Yeah.
So when the pandemic hit, like, I was just getting into my groove of, I'm not in wrestling anymore. Like, my weekends are free. I can do what I want. I don't have to worry about any of that. And then
I was going to say, so you're saying you retired?
Yeah.
But in wrestling, we never retire.
Exactly. Well, I say that, but I quote unquote, in my brain, I had my last match November 2019. I've wrestled once since then. Pardon me. We have guests. It's my cats.
No worries.
So I was sitting at home, and then I don't know if it happened in Australia, but here in the United States, we had the whole speaking out movement in wrestling. So that happened. And I was sitting at home, and I get a message, a Twitter DM from Danny Cage, owner and head coach of the world famous Monster Factory, that was like, "Hey, what's your number? I want to call you. I want to talk to you about something." And I've known Danny for years. So I sent him my number. He called me later that night, and he was like, we were talking about the whole speaking out movement. And he said, "Well, hey, how do you feel about, or would you have any interest in coming and coaching at the Monster Factory?" And I'd never really given it any thought at all. Quite frankly, it was never something I thought I could do, because in my head, I'm like, look, I can wrestle, but it took me forever to learn how to do it. Like, I don't know if I can break it down and teach it to someone else.
Yeah.
But I said yes. I explained that to him, and he's like, no, it's fine. Like, and I said yes. So, and then for the Monster Factory at the time, all the gyms were closed when he asked me. So I started probably 2 months later. And we trained, I do Tuesday classes, and we trained, everyone had to wear a mask. Everyone was 6 feet apart. No one was touching each other. It was a lot of tape study, promo work, the stuff that we could do safely, we did do. And then, we started running shows, where, again, masks were required. Seats were social distanced. If you bought a 4-pack of tickets, it was your 4 seats and then 6 feet between you and any other chairs. We had hand sanitizer at every set of chairs. We were sanitizing the ring between matches. We changed the setup in the building so that the entranceway had a short ramp directly into the ring, so nobody was around the fans. You went out, you did your match, you came back. So we tried to adapt. I think we were one of the first in, on the East Coast that I saw doing any of that. And then, you would see feds that just almost didn't care. And as soon as they were allowed to run shows again, we're just throwing crowds together.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's where you sort of saw those like sort of spikes in numbers and stuff like that, is because places that weren't social distancing, and and then that sort of shut down other sort of sporting events, and more wrestling events got cancelled, so everything sort of got put on hold.
Well, hey, Missy, let me ask you a quick question. I mean, you've been in the business for 25 years. I've been in the business for 30, so we just have 5-year differences. So I consider you one of the boys, old school. So with the speaking out movement, in regards to how things are happening and it's not about boys or girls, it's just how things are happening. How did you feel about people coming out after all these years saying, like, if it was the Kingpin Angel, like, 15 years ago, Kingpin Angel did this. And you're like, how do you feel about people coming out against the boys, regardless, boys or girls?
Right. Okay. So I actually told my own speaking out story of something that happened 20-some years ago. Now, the difference between me and other people was I didn't name the person. I've never named the person to another human being in my life. And I have my own reasons for that. One, it's pointless for my situation. From my situation, it was one incident. I don't consider the person to be a predator to other people. I don't feel like anyone else was in danger or anything like that. I chose not to name them. It just creates too much drama. That is unnecessary. And again, for my specific situation, resolves nothing.
Yeah.
I have spoken to the person since then. I've been around the person since then. If I walked into a room, that person was there now, you'd see us give each other a hug, say hello, and you would never know. Look, I think it's important that people got up the courage to discuss incidents of rape, sexual harassment, that kind of stuff, right? So I think that's important, because I think there's been a long-standing acceptance of, girls, women feeling like they have to take that sort of behavior, to be in the business or to be accepted by the boys. But when I say that to you, I limit it to legitimate, actual rape, sexual assault, things like that. There were people who then used that movement, excuse me, I'm doing an interview here, to talk about like, oh, well, my trainer like is too hard on me or yells at me. And there were people who, I was dating one of the boys and they cheated on me. Like, fuck you, get over yourself. And again, there were things that were said about people that I knew or were familiar with where I was like, I don't know if I buy that. I can wholeheartedly, and then there's that whole attitude of, well, you can't talk out about an accuser, right? Like you can't shame it, or anything like that. So we have to sit here and keep our mouth shut. But like I heard, I read one story where a girl listed a few things over the years. And I was like, wait a minute, I was present for that incident. And that's not what happened.
Really?
So for me, it's, but you're right. Because I've said this before, I got into wrestling when I was 16. So I've spent way more of my life living by, guy code and being one of the boys than I probably have being a female. Like, it's just...
The funny thing is that the reason, like I said, I started when I was 17. So see, me and you got a lot of things in common. It's just 5 years difference. But the thing is that it's just my rules was I never slept with the boys, meaning the girls in the business. I never shit where I eat because I just didn't want to break up with her. And then let's use a homicide. Like she started dating homicide and I get mad. Like I can't deal with this. So I never did that. Now with the rats, that's the thing that just bugged me out about rats is because for the stuff that I've done in my past, I am not surprised I'm not part of it. But these were all consensual adventures and stuff like that with tons of dudes in the room and stuff like that. So it's just weird that none of that has come out because, I was forced to do something. And I was like, no, this was all consensual. Because as soon as a woman would have said, I'm uncomfortable, I'm out. I'm not, because I'm not like that. I didn't need to force anybody to do anything. If you wanted to be with the kingpin and have fun, then if you say no, it's no, because there's other rats out there that's willing to party. So that's why I was just curious because like I said, I consider you one of the boys, and I agree with you how you're saying things, and that's how I was like, let me get her opinion because we're both in the same from the same era.
And then there was a whole other part about the underage girl thing. So I got into wrestling when I was 16. Ironically, that I don't think Angel and I ever really met. I was around ECW at the time. Joel Gertner was my roommate, and his then girlfriend, now ex-wife Amber, lived with me. So I was around ECW, right? And I'm not going to name names. I was 16. I was way thinner than I am now. I was blonde. I was cute. But did I hook up with one or two of the boys? Yes, right? So was I being a rat? No, it wasn't, oh my God, he's a wrestler. I was hanging out with these people, anyway. Yeah. But when the whole speaking out thing came and they were like, oh, underage, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I was 16. I knew what the fuck I was doing. Like, were there instances where maybe emotions were manipulated because I was naive? Sure. But I consented to everything. Like I knew what I was doing. Like
but
for that.
But the boys, we work angles. We're gonna work angles to
I tell the girls now when they come to the school, I'm like, I'm gonna tell you this now. Don't date the boys. Like they're workers. They get in a ring and make a whole crowd of people believe shit that isn't real. Why do you think they're not gonna do it to you? And then I say that to you knowing that eventually you're gonna go, this one's different, and date one of the boys. I have to tell you that none of them are different.
And I know a girl that's from here. She's at the Performance Center right now, and she's real good. She's a good worker, and we text on Instagram, and she has my number and anything. But anyway, I tell her, please, save your money, don't sleep with none of the boys, be a professional. I'm just telling you because I care about you as a friend. Don't shit where you eat. And she's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I mean, she's a good kid, But if she does it, I say, if you do it, that's on you. Don't start blaming it. She goes, I understand. You're right. And she's following it to the letter.
Yeah.
It's almost just keeping it professional. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if you had an office job, don't get involved with someone as you said earlier, don't shit where you eat. Don't get involved in someone in the workplace, Like,
and the funny thing is that the reason why I haven't slept with none of the girls from wrestling is because when you consider them as one of the boys, girls are the most nastiest as the boys. And I could tell you some stories of the girls that done stuff, leaving feminine hygiene products in the toilet. And you can't flush it.
Jesus.
I mean, because you become one. I don't see girls anymore. I see one of the boys. So they're like, all right, I'm not a girl anymore. And they fart in front of you. They piss in front of you. So when they say, oh my God, you know, Sunny, oh, she's so hot. And you're like, yeah, that's their opinion. You know, but that's what I'm saying. It's just funny. That's why I never did what I did.
Yeah, but then so because I've had this conversation with other people, and I've had people say to me, "Yeah, but wouldn't it be easier to date a wrestler because like they know
the lifestyle?
Yeah, they know your lifestyle. You can travel together. Da da da." And I'm always like, well, that part of it makes sense to me, but I'm still like, I don't know. What's your feeling on that, Angel?
No, because then you can't work your girlfriend. You can't be like, hey, I'm going out with you. You can't work the angle on your girlfriend. She goes, don't be working me. I know what you're doing. Oh, she'll always trump you. Yeah, she'll always trump you. She'll always know what, I mean, that's why in this business, I said, I'd rather, like, I always tell my girlfriend now that I'm just like, you're not a worker. You don't know how it is to be a worker. And I feel good that she doesn't know the business because then it's my world.
Yeah, like that's your little chunk of just you.
Yeah, me. So,
I mean, what was your take on Angel's statement there? Is like when he was saying he looks at the women as like one of the boys. Like, what does that mean to you?
I've always that's being accepted as one of the boys to me is like one of the best compliments you could ever get from me, because when I trained, there weren't this whole group of female wrestlers around. I think there were 3 girls in the tri-state area when I started. So, and we had to work, we were always the gimmick match on the card. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, women's wrestling was nowhere near where it is today. So, going in and busting your ass and being accepted by the boys as one of the boys, as their equal, was almost like for me, it was almost like the pinnacle of, I made it. I know there's a wrestler named Boogaloo, who I think is how you and I got hooked up to do this interview.
Louis, yeah.
Hates women's wrestling. And we used to work WXW together all the time. And it was no secret that he hated women's wrestling. Didn't like it at all. And we were in Pensacola, Florida, and I worked a 3-way. And there was a window on the second floor from the locker room where you could look in and watch the show. So I came back from the match, and he was up at the window, and he looked at me, and he's like smirking and shaking his head. And I know he hates women's wrestling, so I'm like, what? Like, what? And he was like, I love watching you work. And do you know why I love watching you work? And I'm like, why? He's like, because you work like a dude. He's like, you work like one of the boys. I was like, yeah, like that was literally like the best compliment I could have gotten.
And that's the thing. I don't say I don't like women's wrestling. Okay, you ever wrestled Sweet Destiny?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Little Jeannie. I trained her.
Yeah.
And we used to beat the brakes out of her. We treat her like the boys. And I used to body slam her and choke slam her. I mean, I did everything possible to her. I have the utmost respect for her because she's one of the boys. She took the beating like we take the beating. Mm-hmm. So it's not that I didn't like women's wrestling. It's just sometimes I watch a match and I'm like, oh, come on, you got to put some more gusto into it. There's some women I'm like, this is a badass bitch. I like her. She's one of the boys. That's all it is. It's just that and I just make fun of Piers with the Iconics. Like when I watch the Iconics wrestle, I just don't believe them. I just don't believe their style. Mm-hmm. But when I see a Charlotte Flair, when I see Little Jeannie, when I see a Snooker's daughter, Tamina, solid, just get a boot in the face and just spit the blood out and just keep pushing forward. Definitely, that's a worker. Yeah. That's just how I see it.
When I started training, it was a crappy little gym in Philly. It was actually like an auto repair shop. There were like 2 bay doors. There was always a broken car in one bay and the broken down ring that we had to weld back together before training every session in the other. And when I went down there, the other Angel from ECW, Angel Amoroso, the female Angel.
Oh, yeah.
She was who started training me. And so she brought me down there to learn how to wrestle. And Flex Wheeler at the time was like the head trainer there. And it was just a bunch of boys. I was the only girl. Like after the first 2 times, Angel just stopped coming. She's like, go there 3 days a week. Like they'll hook you up. So I remember, and I tell everybody, I used to go in there and for 3 months, like I changed in a different room. And then when I'd come in, they'd all be in a circle in the ring stretching. There was never any room for me. I had to stretch on the outside. They taught me how to bump, and that was it. And I became, for like 3 months, I became everybody's like crash test dummy.
Yeah.
And they would, like you said, beat the brakes off me. Like they would beat the shit. Like for 3 months, they beat the shit out of me 3 times a week. And like I kept coming back. Like I never missed a training class. And it was about 3 months in. I had changed. I was on the outside of the ring stretching. And I remember everyone was in a circle in the ring. And Flex looked at me and like shook his head. And he's like, "You're not going anywhere, are you?" And I was like, "Nope." And he was like, "All right then." And he made the circle back up and give me room. And it was like being inducted in. And he said to me later, he was like, women had come in and, "Oh, I want to learn how to wrestle." Mm. And the boys would, in essence, waste their time for like a month and a half training them. And then the girls would quit and leave because it was too hard.
Yeah.
So they beat the balls off me for 3 months to make sure that I could take it. And that I wasn't just going to give up and quit and waste their time. Yeah. And I appreciated that.
But did you see, like, if they had like a male come in and start training in that time, did they accept him before?
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, right. And was that like, that must have been like such a fucking,
no,
you know what I mean? Like a kick to the guts. Like, you know what I mean? Like you turn up there like 3 times a week for like a month to 2 months, and then someone just walks in off the street and they're like accepted straight in. Like,
no.
How did you keep your morale going? Like, was that?
Wrestling is the only thing I ever put like 100, 150% into. When I was a kid, it was all I ever wanted to do, right? So no one was going to keep that from me. So even if I had to keep coming in here, and I got, there were guys that would come in that didn't regularly train there. Like I learned chain and reversals from Reckless Youth Tom Carter and Don Montoya.
Damn, Reckless Youth. I haven't heard that name.
Right? And I remember they came in and I was doing something. So I was in the ring by myself, I think with like one other guy learning how to do something. I forget what it was. The guys are all on the outside. This was when I was being segregated a little bit. Mm. So Reckless and Montoya are outside teaching them chain and reversals. And in my head, I'm like, fuck, like I'm going to miss this opportunity. Like, oh, this sucks. So they were out there for like an hour. And then I finished up whatever I was doing. And then Reckless was like, "All right, switch. All the guys in the ring. Missy, come here." And so I literally got like another hour one-on-one with him and Montoya learning chain and reversals. Like Reckless made sure that, I got time with him. So that kind of stuff was cool. Like the guys who were actually going out and working, if they would come in to train, they didn't treat me any different. Like they made sure that, I got my stuff. It was just the guys that were training there. And again, did it suck? Yeah, but I guess I can see their point, like, first of all, back then we were trying not to just let anyone and everyone into wrestling. Mm. So, you don't want to give away all the secrets to anyone who's just going to quit.
Yeah,
100%.
And that's the funny thing. I totally disagree with what you said, because there's guys who came into Gleason's, like she said, you had to earn your stripes. We used to beat the brakes out of them. Remember the stories I used to tell? Johnny used to be like, don't kill them. They still owe me money.
Wait till the payment's made.
Wait till they finish paying, and then we beat the brakes out of them. Because, just because you're a dude and you walk through the door, we're like, let's see if he got the gusto to continue in this business. Just because you're a guy doesn't mean you got a full ride. Mm-hmm. Just because you're swollen jacked, and, be like, nah, we got to test the waters with this fool.
I got to go back though, because they used to play this round robin game at the end of training, where 2 of them would lock up and just kind of roll around until one tapped. Like you had to tap out. That's how you got out of the ring. And it was like the cool down. It was the last thing they did every training session. And then if you tapped out, you rolled out, you were done. Somebody else would just shoot in. Well, you got to think I wasn't allowed to participate in that for like 3 months, right? Yeah. But I would watch them all. And so the first like couple of times I was allowed to participate in that, I tapped out all the boys every time. To the point that then they wouldn't let me play anymore because I just kept tapping all the boys out. And Ron Starr still talks about it, but I'm like, you guys have to understand, I watched you all for 3 months. I know that you favor going to the left, like I watched while you guys were doing this. Not only that, but it then became like almost like I had something to prove. Yeah. So like I would have let you take my arm all the way off before I was tapping out. Like you weren't getting me.
but, you know, like having that passion and that desire. But how long into your training before you actually started working matches?
Oh God, too soon. I maybe 3 months, and I wasn't ready, and I wasn't at all. I wasn't ready. I shouldn't have been working matches.
No, she wasn't ready. No.
I wasn't ready. Angel, you know Dino Santa?
Yeah.
Triple WA. So I'll never forget. I was sleeping one night, and my mom comes in and goes, "Dino Santa's on the phone for you. He's freaking out about something. Get up and get on the phone." And he had a show that weekend, and he was like, "Angel said that, you know, you and her were coming to work, but she just canceled. I still need you to come." And I said to him, I was like, "Dino, I'm not ready." "No, just da-da-da." So I ended up, he talked me into it. I hate telling people no. I feel like I'm letting them down. Oh, look at these comments. Hi, I don't know who just said I'm a badass, but I love you. So
Blue-eyed Brandy.
Blue-eyed Brandy. She's becoming a big fan of our show.
She's been following the MWA network, yeah.
So I ended up doing the show. I worked, this is crazy. So I didn't have a car at the time, and the show was like 2 hours from me. So Dino's like, "Can you get to the Philly airport?" And I go, "Yeah, that's one train." Go to the airport, meet Dan Haney, who's the ref. He's got to pick somebody up. No one would tell me who we were picking up. We ended up picking up George the Animal Steel. So I rode 2 hours in a van.
No way.
Sitting behind George the Animal Steel. Let me tell you, childhood Missy was going bonkers. So I'm sitting there not saying anything. And then Dan's like talking, and Dan mentions it's my first match ever. And with that, like, George perks up, turns around, looks at me, and goes, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yes." So then we started talking or whatever. We get to the building. It was like a high school gymnasium. The girls' locker room was on the second floor. So I get ushered up there by myself. The girl that he wanted me to work doesn't show up. And then they're like, they get this kid who was wrestling as Ranger 7. Just think Power Rangers ripoff.
Yeah.
To come upstairs, they're like, "You're going to wrestle him." We put one of my bras under his gimmick, stuff it, use an entire cover-up stick to cover up the 5 o'clock shadow under his mask.
Yeah.
It was a 30-second match. Angel, you'll love this because I was still like in huge mark mode. Yeah. So mind you, the girls' locker room's on the second floor. Yeah. And it's got like that balcony around, and then the bleachers go down. Mm-hmm. So I totally did the Raven. I walked out onto the balcony, over the railing, and down the bleachers. And then I get to the ring, and they announce me. I get to the ring. My opponent gets to the ring. Then they announce the special guest commentator for my match, Bruno Sammartino.
Oh, no fucking way.
I'm in the ring. I'm like, what is my life? Out walks Bruno Sammartino. Now, mind you, I didn't get to meet him because I was in the girls' locker room. He was in the guys' locker room.
Yeah.
So we do this 30 seconds. I hit like 3 basic moves. The guy rolls out, takes the count out.
Yeah.
I think I won a belt. I did win a belt. They strap the belt onto me. I roll out of the ring, walk right over to the commentary table, and introduce myself to Bruno Sammartino. I'm like, "Thank you so much, sir." Like, and like left. I was like, "This is my life now." My second match ever, my first full girls match, was against Angel's trainee, Lil Genie.
Oh, wow.
And it was fucking horrible.
Really? Why?
I am glad I have never seen a tape of it. I will tell you it was horrible, and 90% of the reason it was horrible was my fault.
What, just because you were green?
Oh, like horribly green. It was bad. And I was supposed to work Heidi Lee Morgan, who the week before I was supposed to work her broke her back. So they brought in Jeannie. Yeah. Match is horrendous. Again, I take 90% of the blame for that. Get to the back. We are both so just embarrassed, upset. Like, we both have tears in our eyes. Heidi Lee Morgan was there in a back brace. So then she comes to the back and she's like, "Look, girls, was it great? No. Like, but don't be upset about it. Like, we all have room to grow." And it's how I ended up training with Heidi Lee Morgan for a while.
And like, you probably like to hear that early on as well, and having someone like pull you aside and just sort of say, "Hey, look, all right, it wasn't a great match, but you're green, you're learning, get better from here, learn from it."
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry about it. I got healed by, George Steele when I first started, and broke character in the ring. You know, remember Billy Caputo?
Yes.
The ref? Okay.
Ref. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I'm Green, Spanish Angel character, and I'm in the ring and I'm wrestling George Steele, and he's like, and George Steele does his gimmick, gets in the corner, and Billy Caputo goes, attack him from behind, and I'm like, what? He goes, attack him from behind. He'll don't worry about it, just attack him. And I blasted him, boom, and he's still taking off his sweater, and I'm blasting him, working him, and he turned around, punched me in the face, and broke character. Don't you? I mean, the fans were like, yo, he could talk. Cut the massive promo, and my whole spirit, that whole match he took over because my whole spirit was done. I was just like,
well, when you're Green, in the minute of that, like, does anything, you're like, everything's gone.
Yeah, it was funny.
And then ironically, so, you know, me and Jeannie live with how bad that match is for years and years and years. We were never booked against each other again. And then WSU comes along and does a tag team title tournament. And it was me and Amy Lee, primetime Amy Lee, second round against Angel Orsini, Prodijet from ECW.
Prodijet.
And Jeannie. So, and, you know, we both had, you know, first round matches to deal with. We did those. So we come together to call the match, and I literally, like, I'm not saying anything. And then Jeannie looks at me and goes, you realize we're pairing up, right? And I was like, all right, cool. And and it was like the do-over from the first match. And it was great. We had a great, like, we brawled outside. Like, we were having a great old time. And I was like, okay, that makes up for all those years ago. Like, that's not the last memory I have of sharing a ring with Jeannie.
But were you guys hesitant to wrestle each other again, like, in between then? Were you guys like, was there
no one ever booked it.
Yeah, right.
You know, what's funny about Jeannie is just I feel bad for her because I love her to death, but it's just the stories of, you know, the Rocco Rock story, and we used to like the Black Widow. Don't fuck with that chick. She'll bury you. Because, you know, dad, and then, you know, she, you know, I don't want to pull out her card, but, you know, it's just funny, like, you know, what you got in there that's killing all the boys?
She should have, and clearly it's a testament to you as her trainer. She was a phenomenal worker. Phenomenal worker.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I just, you know, I think where her career dropped into the business was a hindrance for her. Had she been in, you know, during the Moolah era, she'd have fit right in. If she was in now, she probably would do a whole lot better than she did then.
Yeah, she had a match in WCW. I remember catching it on WCW. I forgot who she wrestled, but I mean, like, I was real proud of her.
It was probably either Malaya Hosaka or Nora at the time.
Something like that.
Molly Holly.
But I was always proud of her. Like, I was always proud of her because, you know, she excelled. You know, she was one of the boys, and there's not too many women there. And again, I'm not knocking the girls at Gleason's. I'm just saying, like, she always stands out to me as one of the top girls, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, I know for a fact that, like, she worked her ass off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, like you mentioned, you know, wrestling for WSU, which, you know, which was a company, and obviously speaking about Speaking Out movement, WSU was one of those companies that got mentioned about in the Speaking Out, which everybody knows it's owned by the owner of Combat Zone Wrestling, DJ Hyde, and, you know, things that came out from there about WSU. Did you experience that sort of stuff or see that sort of behavior that was mentioned about WSU?
So WSU was originally owned by a guy named the Mick, who used to own the DOI, Declaration of Independence, an old website here in the States. He started WSU, and it was owned by him for several years when I originally worked there. We didn't have any of that shit going on when Mick owned it. It was a great promotion to work for when Mick owned it. Whatever happens, Mick ends up selling it to DJ Hyde, who currently owns CZW. I've known DJ Hyde for years. Have I ever personally had any issues with DJ? No, not really. But he has on more than one occasions, you know, made the comment that he was outed for, like, I'll only book girls I'd fuck.
Yeah.
Like, he made that comment more than once. Which was great because then I was like, yes, because he would never book me. I only ended up getting booked back in WSU because he gave the book to Blake, who was a photographer at the time, and also was promoting a Fed in Maryland. But he gave the book to Blake, and that's how I ended up getting booked again. Because Blake was like, "No, why would you not come work here? That's stupid." But does DJ? No, DJ's a fucking creep. He's a fucking creeper.
Yeah.
I had heard stories, and again, I wasn't there, about him booking his female students on shows in other states and then like trying to get them to like room with him.
Yeah, I saw, I think Janella did a tweet about that, is like getting like female talent to room with him and cuddle at night or some shit.
Yeah, I don't know about the cuddling, but I had heard like that he would only book one room and then expect his, the female students to stay with him. And I'm not going to name the student because I don't want to out their shit and then have people ask them about it.
Sure.
But I had heard the story where when the student got to the show and then heard that, they were like, "What the fuck?" And one of the other girls who was not a student of DJ's was like, no, just come room with me. Like, just come get in my room. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Man,
but that sort of behavior isn't like, you know what I mean? Like it comes down to like the carniness of pro wrestling sometimes, but it's good to see that those sort of things have been outed and pro wrestling's changing to be a safer place for women and stuff, and not to feel pressured into doing something that's going to benefit to their career that they don't really want to do.
But what's funny in this business is that, I mean, if it was the boys, like the men, man, I haven't heard not one of the guys like shit that, like, I knew one wrestler, I ain't gonna oust him, like, but it was one time he was in a room with one of the boys who was in the closet on the down low, and he's sleeping, and he's, for what weird reason, he said he felt something weird, and he wakes up and he looks at the foot of the bed and the guy's sucking on his toes.
Oh my God, why do I feel like I've heard that story? I've heard that story.
He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, no, don't." Like in the Euro Trip, Miss Scusi. And he's like, and he told me about it, and I'm like, I wouldn't say nothing about that, brother. Just keep it.
Say it on, just saying it on a podcast worldwide, baby.
Yeah.
We didn't name anyone. We don't know.
Yeah, but like I said, like I guess, Victor Quinones, his crazy stories. I mean, there's shit that happened, but it's part of the business. And like I said, there's guys who gave up that booty and they were not gay just to get the push to be heavyweight champion. I said, "I'll keep that curtain jerking. I'm okay." It's part of it.
But then again, those are the same boys who probably wouldn't come back and go, "Oh, well, during a speaking out movement." Like, there's a difference between somebody actually forced you to do something and you in your own head said, "I have to do this or it's going to harm my career," and you made the decision to do this.
Yeah.
You make that decision. Yeah. And I just recently, like a week and a half ago, had all the female students of the Monster Factory come over for dinner. And I cooked them dinner, just to kind of, not in the school, a very relaxed, like, chit chat among the girls.
What'd you cook?
I cooked steak. It was honey bourbon. I marinated it in a Ziploc baggie for like 2 days in my fridge, in a honey bourbon sauce. And then I took it out and threw them on the grill. Everyone raved about them. And then I made homemade mashed potatoes and Parmesan garlic, Brussels sprouts.
Oh, heaven. Anyway, didn't mean to go off topic, but the boys always hungry.
Exactly. So, and one of the things I said to them was, in regards to that whole thing, I said, people have this notion that so-and-so is going to blackball me from the business. I said, here's a newsflash. No one can blackball you from the business. No one. Because there's always going to be a promoter somewhere willing to book you.
100%.
If you can work and your price is right, there will always be a promoter somewhere. No one can blackball you. I said, so get that out of your head. Don't ever let that be a reason you do anything.
Yeah. I mean, maybe a couple of promotions they might be able to reach, but they're not going to be able to stop, like,
exactly
every promotion in the country, or like probably not even every promotion in the state.
Yeah, no one has that kind of power.
And have you seen a shift in the business since the speaking out movement?
I mean, I think the only real shift that I saw, and again, I was kind of removed from the business when it happened, and in the aftermath, the only real involvement I have in the business anymore is through the Monster Factory. I did just take a road trip with 2 of our female students to a show last weekend. The only real shift that I saw was it felt like companies and training schools in particular then started to pick up females to train. Like I know, like I worked Monster Factory. I know CZW grabbed Gabby Gilbert, to train there. So it felt like whether it was just all for show or not, they at least made an effort to be more inclusive to women in booking and training roles. But again, I'm not, if wrestling is this big pool, I'm kind of just sitting on the steps in the shallow end now, not swimming out,
I mean,
far to see what's.
Do you find like, and it sounds like you've sort of like in a trainer's role, in a coach's role, that you've really sort of embraced sort of like that big sister sort of type of a leadership role to, the female talent training at the Monster Factory, and giving him, from what you've told us, the support and also guidance to say, hey, don't fall for some of the shit that that people I've known that have fallen for over the years. And maybe having someone with that experience that you have guiding them is going to set them up for success in the business.
I hope so. And I love that you said big sister instead of mom. A bunch of the kids call me mom. Like I have one younger male student. He's a single father. He's not rolling in money. And I had stopped through a show he was at that he was booked on.
Yeah.
And I saw him leave the locker room with his gear in a plastic shopping bag. And I said, "You don't have a gear bag?" And he was like, "Well, no." I said, "Well, let me look at home and see if I have one that, that I'm not, just laying around." And I didn't, because it was right after I'd moved, and I guess I left them at the old place. And I said, if you can't afford to get yourself a gear bag, let me know. And I ended up buying him like a $50 rolly bag for his gear.
Oh, wow.
Just looks, I love it. It was cool as shit. It looks like a Halliburton on wheels. It's like the hardcover ones.
Yeah.
But he was so appreciative. And, so I love looking out for the kids. And there's that old adage, like, you'll never have enough time to make all the mistakes. So I tell them, why make the ones I've already made? Like, I can tell you, I've already made these. This is how it works out. Work on ones nobody's done yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I have a quick question. Last time I was at the Monster Factory, there was this guy there, and he's the only one I remember out of all of them. Little dude. He used to do the scorpion splash. He looked like Indian, long hair, and he always wore red. He was a little jacked up. Like, I want to say he was Indian, not American Indian, but had a goatee. We used to make fun of him because he used to do the scorpion splash, and it was a little tiny dude. I can't remember his name, and he just popped in my head because and he had the scorpion gimmicks on there. Because me and DeVito showed up there to do some type of
DeVito.
Yeah, it was me. No, it was DeVito, and it was Animal doing a meet and greet or talking. I can't remember, but he was there, and I always remember that guy, and I forgot his name. Yeah, I got to now find him.
Yeah, find him. Look that up.
Now I got to look it up. I'll tell you out the name in a minute. Go ahead, Piers.
Hold on. I adore DeVito though. For years after ECW, me and DeVito would constantly see each other at memorial shows for people that died. We'd get booked on those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Me and DeVito used to crack the joke that me and him would only get booked if somebody died.
Jesus, that's that's what Angel said. Like his sort of relationship with DeVito's like it's got this dark humor. It's like
So then we used to start taking bets on like who we thought whose memorial show we'd be working next.
Well, I always when somebody dies, he always calls me and then he goes, "You're next, bitch," and I'm like, "Nah, you next."
Well, don't worry. Apparently, I would have worked your memorial show. I would have made DeVito get me booked.
There you go. I'll put you over on him. So then you'll be like, God damn it.
Later. Angel says we're working his memorial show and I'm over.
There you go. But yeah, that was one thing I wanted to ask you is because you end up working the Trent Acid memorial show. Mm-hmm. Was he someone that you were close with coming up through the ranks?
He was my best friend. I I met Trent when I was 16 and started wrestling. We were young teenagers. We used to hang out at the ECW arena. We became best friends then, and we just stayed best friends throughout that. And then, his drug habit got real bad, and he ended up in jail. And he was in jail for, I just want to say, like 7 months. I had just moved into my own apartment, and I was going to see him once a week in jail. And myself, Johnny Cashmere, a couple of our friends talked, and, he lived in the city of Philadelphia. I lived in a suburb.
Yeah.
And so we kind of all talked and thought that maybe it would be best for him if, when he left jail, he didn't go back to the city. So I offered to let him move in with me, which he did. He lived with me for a year and a half.
Yeah.
We got into a huge fight. I threw him out. He moved back in with his mom. And died a couple of weeks later.
Wow.
Now, my saving grace to that was when I say we got in a huge fight and I threw him out, we were talking again like within a week.
Yeah.
We were fine again. He ended up getting arrested again. And then he had to go back to rehab. He had gone to rehab for 30 days when he lived with me. I had arranged that. I tell everybody it was like the greatest phone call I ever got. I was at work. He called me while I was at work the one day, and he sounded kind of down. And he was at our apartment, and he said, I know I need help. I just don't know what to do. And I immediately called. I got him health coverage through the state, and found him a bed in a rehab.
Hey, I found who he is.
Who is it?
This guy.
Oh, he still comes around.
Yeah, that dude. I didn't remember his name, but I remember he used to go
Scorpion. Gray Wolf.
Yeah, Scorpion Splash. Because we used to make fun of him, like this little motherfucker doing the Scorpion Splash. And I always remember him. That's why I had to look.
Really jacked up now.
Yeah, he's jacked when I saw him. And he's bald too.
So obviously, just back onto Trent, like, you lost someone like he was one of those people with just like an amazing talent that, not seeing someone like that get to WWE with the amount of talent that he had was just like, oh, man, like as a wrestling fan, like for years. He
gone and had dark matches.
Mm.
I think the interest was there, but it became to a point where his drug use was undeniable.
Yeah.
And, WWE didn't, doesn't want to take someone who's, got those kind of issues.
Yeah. No, and it doesn't matter how good you are in the ring or
WWE doesn't want to do that.
Yeah. Do you feel like if he had kept his nose clean, he would have had a successful career there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what he was so unbelievably talented that had he been able to be clean and stay clean, they would have been an idiot not to sign him.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's probably like the talent that he did have, and even like the character and the swagger of him as well. Like he looked like a superstar. Like, I still go back and watch his matches to this day, and they still hold up. And you just see like his swagger when he would come to the ring and how he would perform in the ring. It was just like,
and the funniest part was like, that was him. Like he was that like upbeat, like swat all the time. Like I remember he got out of jail, he moved in, and he was like talking to some girl, and the corny shit that was coming out of his mouth on the phone, I ended up like queuing up the song Smooth Operator. And every time he'd say something cheesy, I'd play it.
Yeah.
And it became his ringtone on my phone.
I use that song when I masturbate.
Jesus.
That's
to the rhythm. She's thinking about it.
I am. I'm like, how does that?
Because I'm so smooth.
No, I meant the old school one, the Smooth Operator.
Oh, I'm thinking of Big Daddy Kane.
Oh no, you could probably masturbate to the rhythm of Big Daddy Kane. You can't masturbate to the rhythm. Now you understand my confused face. I was like,
Damn it, Agent. Damn it, Angel. This
Isn't there
isn't
a saxophone solo in there? How are you?
Damn it, Angel. This is shooting the shit. This isn't killing the business, son.
There
Jesus.
you go. You invited me.
I did. But look, it is that time of the show. It is Aussie, guess the Aussie slang. Missy, have you ever been to Australia?
I have not, but I have some Australian friends. There was a joke that I was the East Coast Australian wrestler ambassador for a while because a couple of them would come over and like Jason Dacey and Paul Gaelic, I forget what their gimmick names in Australia are, flew over and like stayed with me for a month. Kelly Slater used to come. Kelly Skater used to come over and stay at my house. Yeah, so I've taken care of a couple of Aussies, making sure they had a place to stay and stuff. But I don't know if I'm really up to date with my Aussie slang, but hit me.
All right, so we'll get it started. So Angel knows a few of them. So if you need to phone a friend, you can use Angel once.
Thank God me and Angel are friends now.
There you go. All right. So this one is Drongo. Angel is a Drongo.
I don't know, but I feel like you shouldn't talk about my new friend that way.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fool or a buffet, like just a goofy person. So, all right. So next is fair dinkum. Oh, crikey, you fair dinkum or what?
Drunk? What the fuck?
No. So fair dinkum means like, are you being honest? Like, is it honestly?
Oh,
like, really?
Okay.
Hey, chuckus me flano.
What is the word?
Flano.
Like a dick? I don't.
Nah, chuck me a flano. So it means chuck me a flannelette shirt.
Oh.
All right, so here we go. Fuck me dead.
Wait, what?
Oh shit, fuck me dead.
That's probably an American term. And I've probably used that to hit on a guy in a bar once or twice.
It means, wow, that's unfortunate, or that surprises me.
All right, that makes sense.
All right, so legless. You should have seen Angel the other night. He was legless.
Did I have a boner? No, just kidding.
Well, no, you would have been legless, not had a third leg. Legless.
Legless. Awesome.
Weak? I don't. Legless.
No, legless means drunk.
All
right.
Leave it to Angel to be drunk.
Okay. Here's another one. Mozzies. Mozzie or mozzies. Oh, fucking hell, the mozzies are out. I'm slapping them all day.
Mosquito.
There you go. Yeah, you got one. There you go. All right, so here we got a few more. So, oh, mate, I was totally fucking rapt about that. Rapt.
Excited?
Yeah, happy, excited. Okay. I guess you can do that. Okay. You just fucking hell. You should see me, mate. He's a bit of a root rat, eh?
Root rat?
Yeah.
Is he like a gym rat?
No. So
a Jersey type.
It's someone who is just basically like a little bit of a ladies' man. So someone who gets around a little bit. A root rat. Would you like a sanger?
I'm writing these down.
Would you like a sanger?
Is it a beer?
No, it's a sandwich.
Oh.
But so I got a couple more for you. So here's one. This one's going to have a couple in it for you. Okay, so it's going to be servo and durries. Hey, Missy, can you go past the servo and pick me up a packet of durries?
All right, so apparently you'd like me to stop at a convenience store and pick you up a packet of. I don't know what a Durries is.
A durry. So a servo is a service station, and durries are cigarettes.
Oh.
Yeah. So, all right. So here's another one. Can I interest you in a snag?
In a snag?
Yeah. Would you like a snag?
Why does that sound like you just inappropriately asked me for sex?
No, I didn't. I actually asked you if you would like a sausage.
Oh.
like sausage from the
Come on, Angel.
barbecue.
Tell me that didn't sound at first like he just inappropriately asked me for sex.
Yeah, and then he says, "Oh, sausage." The same
Yeah.
thing.
All right. So next is a budgie smuggler. Fuck. My dad's at my house and he's wearing his budgie smuggler near the pool again.
Oh, is that like like a Speedo?
Yep, that's it. That's it. All right, this is the last one, and this is bogan. My uncle Daryl is a dead set bogan.
Is he a midget?
No, it means like he's I guess you'd call it an Australian redneck. Like, yeah, like I've done a bogan
in
voice.
Australia?
Well, like someone who's like an uneducated, uncouth type of person, if you want to call it. Like a bogan would probably talk like this. Yeah, fuck, darling. Why don't you come down to the pub? We'll have a few schooners, maybe get a schnitto for dinner, and maybe go have a couple of slaps on the pokies. What do you reckon, darling?
Wow.
Yeah, that's how a bogan talks.
Piers, what part of Australia you're from?
I'm from Sydney.
That's what, East Coast?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's East Coast. I don't know. Like, yeah, it is. It's East Coast. So I'm like down the bottom of like Australia. So.
My buddy runs a Fed over there. NHW? Mana?
Yeah. I've heard of Mana. Yeah, he's a friend of Boogaloo's as well.
Yeah. From our WXW days.
Yeah, I think he's in Perth for memory.
Hi, Dead Precious. Oh wait, was that Boog? I think
that's
Boogaloo, man. That motherfucker got no life.
Hold on, I said it looks like Dead Precious, and I was like, hey, and then I saw the picture. I was like, wait, that's Dead Prez. That's Boog.
That dude never works. He's too busy. He always on.
Got here. I bet you didn't hear me tell the story about him.
But Missy, look, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great having you on.
Me.
No, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, thank you for putting up with Angel as well. So
someone like half twisted his arm to make him stay. By the way, bud, you're not out of the woods. When we get back to the virtual dressing room, I'm going to hear the story about you moving to Kansas.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
But
I'll tell you 2 stories.
But guys,
I want all the stories, Angel.
Want to thank our sponsors as well. Let's give a special shout out to healthvape.com and sleeps.com. 2 amazing brands. Go and check them out. Go support the show by buying some products from there. Use promo code MWAPOD to save 10% at checkout on both sites.
I want to go buy dirty boxers for someone.
There you go. Get some dirty boxers. They're absolutely amazing. They're comfortable and they're a great fit. But guys, also check out some of the other awesome shows we have here on the MWA Podcast Network, like Angel's show, Killing the Business, which is live every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on Friday nights. Make sure that you check that show out. It is off the chain. We can't control what Angel says, and we definitely can't censor him. So it's one of those shows that you never want to miss. But guys, also when you're checking out shows, make sure you check out Knights of the Gimmick Table with the Dead Presidents, Boogaloo and Lowrider. They drop their show every Sunday night at 9 p.m. USA Eastern, which is 11 a.m. here in Australia on Monday morning. So make sure you check out that show. It's those guys have been killing it, man, since they started, Angel, and we can't also forget about former WCW star Kwee with his show Get Funked. That's Not Your Average Wrestling Podcast, and he's bringing on some amazing people to talk with as well. So guys, you get a great range of shows here at the MWA Podcast Network. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, and wherever you're finding us, as long as you're finding us, that's all that matters. But Missy, thank you so much for coming on and doing the show.
And Angel, thanks for hanging out with us.
Oh, I always love hanging out with you guys.
But we'll definitely have to get Missy on again for a part 2 in
Anytime.
the future. We'll definitely make that happen. But guys, until next time, make sure you check out our social media to keep up to date with any updates we have on any of our shows. But until then, we'll see you soon. Peace.